Alrighty, folks, welcome in. This is the Texas to Tennessee podcast, and tonight we are very fortunate to have Nate Burnham on the podcast. So, welcome in, Nate.
Thank you for having me. I noticed it's Texas to Tennessee, but I see a Kansas City Royals hat. How does that factor in?
Yeah, that's a good question. I lived in Kansas City for
All
13
right,
years. So,
that's fair.
yeah,
That's fair.
yeah. I'm sorry. I know we probably will end up talking about the Astros, but yeah, it was. We don't get there very often, so we're pretty excited when it
Yeah,
happens.
no, I'm happy for you guys.
Appreciate that. Well,
He
while we're
looks
getting all
happy.
the, yeah, for sure. While we're getting all the technical things sorted, for our viewers that maybe aren't familiar, can you just maybe give us your, I don't know, 90-second commercial? Give us your little bit of your background. I know there's a lot, but whatever you can fit in.
Yes, Nate Burnham from Houston, Texas. Um, you know, came into this music thing kind of a little later in life. I I have a wife and 4 kids. Sometimes five when we count Grace whenever she comes home, and so just kind of chasing a dream. I've written songs ever since I started playing guitar, and I never really thought I was going to do music, but it turns out some people like my music, and the songs kept coming, and I kept writing them, and I thought, I should probably not die before I try this. And so, we sold I had a partnership, and we were running a business with some people, and I got out, and I moved back to Texas and decided to give it a go. And so I think we're like 3 or 4 years into really playing music full time, and we're just in the grind. And I honestly am loving it. I've loved everything so far. But I just need about, I don't know, 1 million more people like you guys that'll listen to my music, and we'll be good to go.
No problem. Well, we're
No
gonna
problem.
win them one at a time. So, um, so when you moved from Idaho to Texas, right?
Right.
Um, was the decision to come to Texas because of the music scene, or
Yeah.
was there another reason?
So, I mean, we moved from Texas to Idaho for a business opportunity, and it was cold there. It was very cold, among other things, and I think we had always wanted to come back to Texas at some point. We just didn't know when that was going to be, and and actually, the businesses that I had started were in Texas, like McAllen and Corpus and Houston, and I was out west doing like recruiting and some corporate stuff, and so we were going to come back to Texas eventually, and so my wife and I got married. We lived in Austin for for a while, and we kind of bounced around while we were building the businesses, and then uh, we live in the Dallas area now. And really, the decision behind that was my wife's sister lives here. She's like, if you're going to be gone playing music, I want to live close to my sister. I said, deal.
Nice. Well, we're glad to have you.
Yeah.
In, in terms of so this is the goofiest question I'll ask all night, but you got to just bear with me and kind of work through it. So
All right.
I'm gonna give you a pie, and you have to divide it up into 4 sections. So you've got songwriting, recording, performing, and then the business, all the extras. How would you divide that pie up in terms of, I guess, importance? Which of those pieces of pie is the biggest, or try to get to 100% if we can?
Right. So, well, man, I mean, they really all are equal. I think, you've got to I think one thing that musicians as a whole don't understand, or it's harder for them to grasp onto, is the business side. I'm fortunate enough that I've been self-employed my whole life, and I've had operating agreements, I've had partnerships, I run my taxes through an S corp and LLCs, and done K1s and all this stuff. That's like, when you really start any business, you don't know about it until you're in the thick of it, and anybody can go and play music on Thursday, Fridays, and Saturday nights, and do it on the side and do it because they love it. When you want to start making, a living out of it, um, there's obviously some things on the business side that you got to be able to take care of, and it's not just taxes, but understanding relationships and understanding how to make money, and that and where to spend money. There's a lot. If you're running a business, there's a million decisions that you make that could make or break you. And so it really is important. And I think that that's where probably most musicians are kind of at a disadvantage for starting out. And just like anything else, it's one of those things that you got to learn. You got to use. Just make your mistakes and figure it out. But the other stuff, I think I've always believed that the music, the songwriting and the recording is probably the biggest difference maker, right? Um, if you're going to turn heads and get people to listen to you, well, your songwriting has got to be some original, and the songs have to be good. And if they're not, then you can still be a great cover band or something, right? And it just depends on what your goals are. And then there are people not knocking cover bands because, man, cover bands make money, right? And so, but if you want to be an artist and if you want to try and tour on your own music and build crowds and it be your thing, then the songs, it always comes back to the songs. And you can look at a million people that are so talented that they can sing you or me under the table, and they're way better looking than us, and they don't quite have the songs. These people just don't take off because they don't have the songs. And so you can be a talented musician and play guitar great, but if you're writing the same old junk that everybody else is writing and you don't really stick out, then it's just you're not gonna catch on.
Fair. Sounds like your answer is balance, which is, I think, a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in the performance side, it's like you're always trying to get better on the performance, and money nowadays is in the live performances. You're not selling albums anymore. You're not, you got to go to venues and sell T-shirts and sell tickets, and so, you've got to hone your live show to where people want to come see you, not just once but twice, 3 times, and follow you around, and if they can come and have a great time and love your music, love your show, buy your merch. You have to have that. Otherwise, knowing how to do your 1099s and your LLCs doesn't matter.
Right. Makes sense.
Which one of those comes more natural to you? I know you've been in
Um,
the business part longer, but which one feels more like home?
performing and songwriting has always been. Songwriting just is natural. I mean, the whole reason why I'm here is that I wrote some songs, and I put out an album in 2012, and I started my business the same year, and I thought, part of me thought, like, hey, I made enough songs for an album, like I probably won't write more. But the songs just kept coming. Even while I was running my business, I kept writing songs. It was just, how it is. It's like you get your emotion out, your therapy, and then you realize that it's art at some point. And then performing, I was in theater in high school. I love being on the stage. I played baseball. I I was competitive, and I thrived in competitive moments, and tight games and stuff like that. And being in front of a crowd is something that has always just felt natural to me. And even just before our Love and War show this last weekend, I talked to the band about it, and I was like, we do better when the bigger the crowd, the better we do. It's like we elevate ourselves we've opened for Martina McBride for a sold out arena that they have in Idaho. And man, it was like there was not a butterfly to be had. It was like you get up there and you're like, oh, this is what I do. And it just, performing and connecting with the crowd and that whole thing, it really has come naturally to me. And so I think those two, come the easiest. I don't love pushing papers and doing taxes and 1099s and stuff, so I wouldn't say that comes, naturally,
Right.
it's kind of one of those necessary evils.
Yeah.
Although
Well,
some people love crunching numbers, I'm not a person who loves to crunch numbers.
they folks as far as performing and songwriting kind of both feeling like home is a lot of times that's not the case. Yeah, your answer is definitely I think not the norm. So kudos kudos to you on that. Um, as far as your songwriting goes, when like how young when that first started, and were you ever doing that cover band thing and then had to break away from it, or have you always been doing originals?
So I started playing guitar in college. My freshman year of college, I didn't start, and I was, I played baseball in school, so it was kind of just a fun thing that I would take my guitars on the road trips on the buses, and we would sing on bus rides, or hang out at the hotels afterwards and sing, and a lot of that really, it was all covers. I was learning, every country song and Pat Green, and back then it was like every Jack Johnson and John Mayer song, and Dave Matthews and all the rest of it. Um, and so I mean, most of it was just cover, just to hang out and play. And I think I was writing songs, or I had ideas for songs, but I wasn't really sharing them with people. It was for me. It wasn't something I thought like, oh, I'm gonna write songs and share them with people. It was like
Right.
I'm gonna write songs, and um, and it was just something I did. And then you share one here or there, or two here and there, and people are like, oh, that's really good, and you're like, thanks, mom. But you can't believe mom all the time, even though she tells you you're good. And but it's like when you hear friends say, hey, that song's really well written, or like you sing them a song and they go, wait, you wrote that? And you're like, yeah. They're like, that's are you sure? That's really good. Like, all right, thanks. So I mean, really people's response to the few songs that I'd written was really kind of what opened me up to like, well, I'll share more. And you know how it is, writing songs, like there's good and bad and everything in between, um but I started to become more I felt like my songwriting was getting better, as I got older, and I understood a little bit more what I was like wanting to write about, and that I didn't want to write the same old things and use the same lines. I don't write the beer drinking party tailgate songs on a Friday night underneath the moonlight stuff, um, but that's always fascinated me with songwriting, is that it really is like a window into the life of the people that you follow. So that's why you listen to Pat Green, and it's like, man, these are his songs, this is his life. And same with like Charlie Robinson, even though like his brother wrote a lot of songs, but it's like a lot of the Texas artists, especially writing their own songs, it's like you feel like you know them a little bit better just through the songwriting. So it was always fascinating to me that way. And it was just one of those things that it kept happening until, oh, I've got a pile of songs, I could actually make an album.
Yeah. What about your songwriting? Are you somebody that you try to write on a regular basis? Have kind of a to I guess just to keep the muscle going, or do you write when the idea or the melody hits?
I mostly write when the melody hits, and I was thinking the other day, I actually haven't written a song since May, which is like when my dog passed away. One of my hunting dogs passed away, and I kind of, sometimes I go back through my voice memos and see like what I've been working on lately, and I was like, dang, I haven't written a song since May. And um and so I haven't had a whole lot of inspiration, I guess, or I realized I haven't really sat down with the guitar and just like fiddled around and played. I don't know if I just haven't had the time or what. um but I've been on some writers retreats where you schedule times to write with people, and that's something I didn't do until I moved back to Texas and I started getting more involved in the music scene. It was learning how to co-write was actually a, a step that I had to take, and I had to kind of learn how to do it and learn how to trust the process a bit, because when you're writing your own songs, last thing you want is for somebody to come in and like screw up your baby. And um, and so the concept of like getting into a room at a certain time with this many people and then just writing a song was foreign to me. Where it's like, how does that happen? And I just because I've always operated off, here's an idea, sit down and work it out. But I've been fortunate to go on some writers retreats with some really talented people, and you realize like, like there's people in this room that understand. They get it. Like they know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about. They know how to write songs, and I've learned to kind of trust that. Whereas before I was a little bit apprehensive of turning ideas loose into a room of people that I wasn't quite sure how they were going to approach it. But it's actually helped me with a few songs, like Guitar in My Hand. I wrote with I hit a dead end by myself, and I finished it with a guy named Zach Lindley, who's super talented songwriter. He's helped me with another song, Headliner in Heaven, and I've been able to lean on some people, from the get go. I've written a song with Sarah Hobbs, and just there's some songs that I've been able to co-write with, and I'm just super proud of, super stoked about. And so when the opportunities arise to write with good people, I do it.
I'm sure making those songs that you're proud of with the co-writes makes you more at ease, as far as, you know what I mean. You're like, we're not writing cheese here. We're still writing good songs.
Right.
Yeah.
And also you write a song, you get to a point you're like, oh, like they needed to be in on this song. Like this song, like their take, their view on this is what helped make this song what it is, and I wouldn't have had that on my own. So you realize, that every song has its own path, its own life and stuff, and you know there's just those moments where and there are moments where you hit a dead end with people, and sometimes you don't finish things, but there's been some songs that we've done co-writes where I'm like, it wouldn't have turned out that well if I would have just tried it on my own.
Understood.
Nate, these are kind of two unrelated questions, but the first one, if you could talk a little bit about your work with the military veterans.
Yeah. First of all, I've got three brothers that served. One's still in, and my best friend he was a pilot for the Marines, and I was in college when 9/11 happened, and so the whole war thing, like we've lived through this generation of war. It's been like very real, right? For a lot of people, like I'm fortunate all my brothers have come home, but I know people who their brother didn't come home, or their dad didn't come home or something. And so we grew up hearing about like the Vietnam War and all the experiences and stuff that veterans have, and I think as a society that we've done a really good job this time around being there for them. We can still do better. We all know there's ways to improve the VA and everything else, but there's so many organizations that are doing their best to take care of the veterans, and there's every type, and so every chance I've had, I've been able to contribute. I try and do that. There's a place called the Marshall Ranch that they work with Brooks Army Medical Center, and they do hunts for people who are going through the hospital down there, and they're rehabilitating. They're usually amputees, and most of them never hunted before, and I've been able to go out and help guide, and then play music for them at night, and just kind of help provide like a hunting camp atmosphere where it's just fun. We're all hanging out. Food's phenomenal. They take care of that. But I mean, and it's way out in West Texas, kind of on the Pecos River, beautiful country, and some of these guys have been in the hospital for a year or two straight, and this is like their first time to getting out, and it's such a relief for them to be able to get out and then experience something new, shooting a hog or shooting a deer, or even duck hunting or something on the river, and guys, you guys know I'm an avid hunter, and I love sharing experiences in the field, because I really feel like hunting just puts you wakes you up early, and you go to bed late, and you get to see things out in the world that you wouldn't normally see without it, I feel like. And you know, there's that, and then there's a place called Trinity Ranch. It's kind of southwest of San Antonio. They do a lot of work with Gold Star families, and so every Memorial Day I've been going down there and playing for the Gold Star families, and we even wrote a song for Gold Star families called Never Forget, and we just there's some other stuff. They do Bucks for the Brave, which is for all police officers, every branch of the military and stuff. They provide a trophy hunt for one person from each branch of the military and fire department and police, which is super cool. And you know, they get to go down and shoot a buck of a lifetime or something. And I just, again, like most of the time, my contribution is just hanging out and playing guitar, which is easy for me to do. You know, I don't have to spend anything but my time and some gas, and it's honestly some of the best time spent. And so every chance you get, you know, I love contributing to those things, especially when it involves hunting.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for doing it. It's obviously, it sounds like you get as much out of it as the people involved, but it's important work. So thanks for doing that. This one is unrelated, but I think we need to hear the story about your stolen song.
my stolen song. Yes. So I was actually recording my first album. It was like 2011, somewhere around there. You know, I released it in 2012. But there's a guy that played on it. His name is Jody Bartula. He plays fiddle for Cody Johnson, and him and Kenny Jackson Jr. were kind of helping putting the record together. And I had a title track called Crash Course with Lonely, and the title of the album was called Crash Course. And because really the whole process of recording an album and, you know, playing to a click track and doing all this stuff, like building songs in the studio, it really was a crash course in music and everything for me. Had no idea what I was doing when I got in, but you know, I'd recorded the title track, and Jody's brother, his name's Cody. He texted me one day and he was like, "Hey man, this guy in College Station," and I'm not gonna say his name, but he's like, he was playing your song on stage, and I was like, really? Well, that's kind of cool. Like, if he's covering, he's like, yeah, but he was saying that some guy stole it from him and that it was his song. I was like, well, that's not cool. That's a problem, you know? And so gave me the dude's name. I looked it up. This is still back in the time of like Reverb Nation. I think MySpace has kind of puttered out the MySpace music. You know, Reverb Nation and stuff was still kind of going. So I look on his Reverb Nation. Sure enough, man, there's my song. He's singing it. Didn't even sing all the words right. He changed some stuff. And I was like, holy cow, I cannot believe this, you know? And I saw that he was playing in Houston, and I was recording in Houston, but I was living in Austin. So I scheduled a time where I could go record in Houston and then catch one of his shows. So I went to his show, and I sat in the back. You know, there were 7 people there, and he played some songs, and then sure enough, he goes, well, this next song gets requested a lot by the ladies. It's called Crash Course with Lonely. And then he played my dang song. And I was just like, and I recorded it. I was back to like recording all the stuff so I could get this. And then, you know, your main urge is like to go up and take the mic from him and just be like, hey, this guy stole my song. But instead, and maybe punch him in the face. Well, those are the feelings that you get. But instead, I talked to a guy's lawyer, and we wrote up a sweet cease and desist, and you know, threatened to sue the trailer out from under him, and basically like had him sign a piece of paper. Well, let me back up a little bit. So like we write up a cease and desist, but we had to get it to him. So on his Reverb Nation was a booking number. So I called the number and I pretended to be a venue, and I was like, yeah, or like I want to, you know, we're gonna have this big party, and I just need to get your information. I need your address. I need your, you know, this, that, and the other. And I was actually talking to him on the phone, and got all of his info. He was super excited about this show that he was going to get to play. And I got his email, got his address, got everything. And then hung up the phone, and we immediately emailed it to him, and then also like mailed one the next day, and just kind of dropped the hammer on him. And it was basically like, we have, you've done this type of infringement and fraud and blah, 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 blah. We could sue you up to this amount, this amount, and this amount. We could do this for damages, etc. And then there's a piece of paper. But if you sign this piece of paper down at the bottom, admitting, that you stole the song and you'll never do it again, and you'll crawl into a hole and never be heard from again, then we'll let the whole thing go. And he chose to sign that and send it back. And so that was kind of the end of that. And I still have it in the filing cabinet too. Like it's I don't know, at this point it's like every once in a while I stumble on it. I'm like, oh, that happened. That was funny. So
like maybe you should frame that, but
I know, right?
Yeah, I would like to look at that on the regular, just to remind me. But I really enjoy that. I guess the bigger question is it requested heavily by the ladies?
Not anymore.
No,
not anymore.
Not so much anymore.
It does not. Yeah. Oh man. I mean, I like the song, and there's also a bit of flattery where it's like, oh, I guess the song is it good enough to be stolen? All right, But I don't know. It was definitely, it was a little surreal. I like, no way is that happening. But it happened. And
welcome to the music business.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. And the side story with that is I haven't talked. I hadn't told anybody. I don't talk about it really that much. I think I posted about it before, but I was in College Station, I was talking to this guy, and he was like, hey, are you the guy that dude stole the song from? I was like, how do you know about this? And he goes, yeah, it was that dude. And he names the guy who I don't say the name. And he names the dude. And I'm like, I haven't heard that in, years. I haven't heard that in over a decade, that name. And somehow he knew about it. He's like, oh man, like all the musicians out there knew about it. And like, that guy, he was this and that. And we thought it was the funniest thing, And I was like, dude, I didn't even know if anybody knew about it, outside of our little circle of people that were recording. He's like, oh no, we all knew. And we thought it was hilarious. I was like, that's funny that some people knew. So, because I don't tell anybody.
So that dude had a reputation and had it coming from somebody. It just happened.
He was on probation already for stealing air conditioning units. Like I looked up his record and stuff. He was not a great dude.
I got a video from Todd Snyder. I gotta send you.
Okay.
Where he's talking about somebody stealing one of his songs. So it's a I don't know if you're familiar with Todd, but he's a great storyteller. So the story before the song is equally as funny as the song. So I'll send that to you. It's called "If Tomorrow Never Comes." By the way, that's the name. That's the name of Todd's song.
Garth Brooks song.
Like it was the song.
No. That's the name of it.
But no, they're tied together though. I mean, yeah. I'll post it and send it to you too for the viewers to find it too. So
since we're at halftime, speaking of songs, could we actually hear one that Nate has written and performed
that somebody hasn't stolen?
Yeah.
All right. Preferably. So breaking news, I have this song that I'm going to release right now.
The winner.
All right. Yeah, here's the song, Firebird. So tell us about the difference between overhauled and not overhauled before I play this.
It really it got remixed and remastered because I put it out the radio. And I thought just saying like remastered was boring, and so I was playing into the whole Trans Am Firebird doing an overhaul, and that's really all it is. It's remixed, remastered, and then we added the engine firing up at the beginning.
Okay, all right, cool. Here we go.
I should have known when I saw that Trans Am. You were just another bad engine. Waiting to happen, waiting on me. I don't know.
Nice. Can you tell us a little bit about the Firebird Festival that you played in
Yeah,
summer? That's not the right name, but you know what I'm
yeah,
talking
Firebird Fest.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. So we put out a music video for that, and we got to play with like 5 Pontiac Trans Ams for a couple days, and it was a lot of fun. The video turned out great. Trevor Lamb at Motion Theory, he works exclusively with Co Wetzel now, and that whole video got picked up by the Pontiac community online, and it's just started to get passed around, and tens of thousands of views, all over Facebook and YouTube, and then there's a guy that runs Firebird Fest that heard it, and he was like, "Hey, would you guys come out and play at Firebird Fest?" I'm like, "Absolutely," And so they when we released the video, they just had it a few weeks prior, so we made the plan for the next year, and so in 23 we got to drive out there. It's like near St. Louis. They have a couple hundred Trans Ams that show up. It's like a big, cool car show out in a parking lot, and we got to play a set for them. They have like a Smokey and the Bandit recreation action scene that they had, which was awesome. And then they drove us out to the local NASCAR track, and we got to do laps in Trans Ams around the NASCAR track. And it was just, I mean, so cool. And I mean, if you have a Trans Am, you should register and go to Firebird Fest because it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's
Yeah,
cool
that's
to see
cool.
all those different generations of Firebirds, and it's a cool community. And Rod Hafford's the guy that runs that thing. It was great.
Nice. Very cool.
So let's talk about sports a little bit. That's something you hit on just a little bit because a lot of folks that we I think Talbot and I had talked about this. I think it was actually last night about a lot of folks that dig into music don't necessarily follow sports. What I know you're in the I think I know who one of your teams is, but who's your teams and what's your I guess what's your sports of that of choosing.
Oh, I grew up in Houston, so I'm a Houston Astros fan to the bone. I mean, I've been going to Astros games since they were in the Astrodome. I mean, that probably
Gotcha.
dates me a little bit, but it's like I watched Biggio and Bagwell and Berkman.
That's what I was
I
gonna
played
say.
baseball growing up. I played in college, and Biggio was like, he's a leadoff hitter like me. I wore number 7 at Utah, or no, I wore number 7 at Mesa actually, because of Biggio, and I tried to get it at Utah, but somebody else had it. But I kind of modeled my game after him. He was just a gritty guy, and he never moved out of the way of a pitch, And so I kind of took on that mantra of like I would not move. If they hit me, I would take my base, and which leadoff hitters got to do. I was young for the Oilers, but we didn't have a football team for a while. I really latched on to Montana and Steve Young and Jerry Rice and those guys in the 49ers. I've always rooted for the 49ers. Garrison Hurst and all those dudes. Anything anti-Cowboys, anything anti-Dallas, I'm probably there. But and that's not going to go over well with some people. But I'm not a big NBA fan, but Houston Rockets and all that. But baseball's been my thing, and obviously I've enjoyed the last 7-8 years of the Astros being really good after a lifetime of them not being great.
You've had a
Yeah,
good run.
yeah. As a Cardinals fan, I respect it.
Right, yeah.
I don't necessarily. Oh, apparently, speaking of stealing things from each other, yeah. Astros and Cards have a nice little history for some reason.
Yeah.
And yeah, so and now is talking about dating ourselves. It doesn't Biggio's son, isn't there a junior that's
Yeah.
yeah,
He's been with the Blue Jays, I think.
yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and look, I still have nightmares of Pujols hitting that home run off a lidge. Like I still wake up in cold sweats, So
By the way,
I still have nightmares about the Cardinals, man.
Well, same with you. I didn't have a team growing up, but then when I started working at a radio station as a teenager, um, it was to simulcast or play commercials during the Cardinals baseball game. So I went from not doing anything with baseball to listening to Jack Buck and Mike Shannon every night.
Nice.
So that's why I became a fan, and that was during the McGuire Sosa chase.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I do think that ball is still traveling that Pujols hit. By the way,
It has not landed.
I did get to
Still
see
going.
Pujols
It's still in orbit.
at the
Good Lord.
Memphis Redbirds, though. So that was,
That's cool.
yeah. But, anyways, just had to throw some sports in there somewhere. So,
Appreciate that.
mhm.
I guess I will ask. This is probably the most pressing question that I have tonight. Will we see a return of the commission? I'm not sure if it's called the commission, but
Yeah. It needs to happen. Since it's all my fault, since TikTok changed the algorithm and you start getting 2 or 3 or 400 views instead of
Yeah.
50, 60, 100,000 on those videos, and they're it was so easy to just make them and get some laughs, and and now it's like TikTok has changed, and it's just part of being ADD is like it's just like if you're not going to get a big return out of it and stuff, it's like I lost a bit of interest in it, but I still like love doing that stuff. It's just but yeah, the commissioner against cliche country music, he is on hiatus, but I think the right topic comes along, he'll come back out and speak again for sure.
I would speak for some of those viewers. We sure would like to see a part 3. I think there were 2 parts, right?
Yeah, well, I've got there's 3 parts to the Texas country and Appalachia and Red Dirt.
Yeah.
And then I have a couple other ones
Okay.
that I've done, but there's several of them.
Well, I would encourage. I think you all probably figured out that Nate's got a pretty good sense of humor. If you listen to much of his music, there's some little gems in there, I guess I would say. But if you haven't checked out his TikTok, I believe it's 2 of the first 3 videos on there, and they're fantastic.
Yeah.
I was so excited when I saw the second one come up. I was like, yeah, great.
Yeah.
So, shout out to you.
Yeah. No, thanks, man. And I mean, those got like, there's tens of thousands of views. One had was like 6 figures, but I made a video called Whiskey Wheel, and where I kind of made a joke about how people write whiskey songs, and then you just spin a wheel, and you pick a thing, and you spin it again. It's like, you just come up with a phrase about whiskey, and then you write the song. And I mean, I thought it was like some of my best work, to be honest. And it only got like 1,000 views. And I was just like, what is wrong with TikTok? Like this, if this is 2022, it probably would have just broke the internet. But like, it just doesn't get showed to anybody yet. And I was just like, dude, I mean, as much effort as I put in that, and it didn't go as well. And I was like, whatever, TikTok, you guys are.
Yeah,
I think they're punishing me because I'm not pushing stuff on TikTok Shop. I'm not trying to.
Yeah.
But it's like there was a time where TikTok was just, it was like it was so productive.
Yeah.
And
great return.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the commercial, I forget what the company was where the person's making a TikTok on the side of the road, and it's like, this is going to be viewed by my tens and tens of fans.
Right.
It was Allstate, I think.
I think so. If they want to sponsor,
Yeah.
hit us
We're
up.
open to it.
Yeah, definitely. Explain what that skit is, by the way. So
I mean, it started off as the commissioner was just taking overused cliche terms in country music songs and banning them, just basically saying, all right, this has been written and we don't need to write it anymore. Like, you got to come up with a new way. Like, no more drinking out of Dixie cups. No more tan legs and swinging from the tailgate. No more tasting things on women's lips. No moonlight on your lips. No love on your lips. No whiskey on your lips. No beer on your lips. No, whatever. It's like tasting all these things on women's lips has to stop. And moonlight.
Well, there goes my hot sauce song. Shit. Damn. Oh, God.
I know. And there's definitely going to be people that are going to be like, oh crap, I've written that, and part of me feels bad when I'm like, listen, the songs have been written, fine. It's been written, that's okay. But no more. From here on out, like, you're not allowed to use those phrases. No more rhyming Chevy with Levy, okay? It's been done. Like, we can't just keep doing this, because at some point it's not your writing. You're writing somebody else's stuff, and just putting it into your song. And so, that it's just, and it's like, and they try and do it as funny as possible, but like, take some very obvious cliches from country music and then just go, yeah, all right, guys, let's phase this one out.
Well, without giving a spoiler, Nate plays all the actors in the skit.
Okay.
So one of them is Texas country. One of them is Red Dirt. He's from Oklahoma. There's
an Appalachia
guy, and then
the commish.
Yeah. So, and then the accents are, I mean, it's great. It really is great. So
I actually had to like research some of those Appalachian terms in like an Appalachian accent a little bit. You
did well.
That one I dove through YouTube for a while just to try and and I've had some Appalachian people reach out to me and go, hey man, like that was pretty good. Like you got some of that terminology right. They're like, maybe it was a little rough in spots, but like overall, like I've gotten some approval from some of them, which has been nice.
Yep.
Mike in the YouTube chat says that he is feeding all of those words into his AI song right now. So
nice. Hey, it'll write it for you. That's funny.
Well, I mean, one thing I would say, even with your old videos, repost those suckers. Do it again. Just because,
That's what I should
if
do.
The algorithm doesn't want to work in your favor one time, don't delete it. Just lay it on top of there. Nobody cares.
You
Just
got you got
do that again.
25,000 followers and like 200 people see your videos you put up.
That's
Like, I don't understand it.
unfortunately that's the way that works. Yep, and it doesn't matter how much time you put into it. They don't. It doesn't matter.
And I know people that they are better than me at posting content, new content, regularly posting. You know, they put the effort and the time into it, and they've been just
Yeah.
phased out somehow.
Yep.
You know, 4 times, 5 times as many followers as me, and like they put out good content, quality imaging, all the stuff, and it's like, and they're in the 400 view jail. It's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's geared more towards new accounts these days, but oh well, you know. Well, let's see. What was I was thinking about something else. What are some things outside of music that you enjoy? I know you're a sports guy. I know you hunting, but what's
I
some
mean,
other stuff that?
the elk hunting, like bow hunting elk is like, I've done a lot of hunting. I've done a lot of bird hunting, waterfowl, upland, big game, everything, and I just really have been bow hunting, I guess, the last 7 or 8 years, and bow hunting is when you get into the mountains and it's September and the elk are bugling, and you're within yards of them. It just trumps anything else I've done, as far as the hunting goes. And so that's become it's like I've decided that if I have to give up most of the hunting that I was doing, I'll that's fine, but I don't want to give up elk hunting. It's the one thing I just somehow want to be able to manage to do every year. I've been blessed so far to be able to do it, um, but yeah, I mean, I've got 4 kids, and I love being a dad. I think being a dad is the coolest thing in the world. Um, I've got one teenage daughter that's 13, and she's like one of my best friends. You worry about them getting older and being too cool for you or something at some point, and but it's just like the whole family thing is it's been real special. My wife is my best friend. She's amazing, and I talk a lot about hunting. I talk a lot about music and sports, but honestly, if I'm not doing any of those, I don't care. I want to be with them as much as possible. And elk hunting only takes up a week or so of my year, but the rest of the time, if I'm not playing music, I just want to be home with them and hanging out. I think they're funny and they're smart and they're my wife and I talk about it all the time. We just feel so blessed with our situation right now, and we hope it continues, and we're trying to live in the moment as much as possible, because we know how fast it's going. Everybody will tell you, like, man, you blink and you're holding this little girl one day, giving her shoulder rides, and then the next thing you know, she's out the door. And like, we're kind of experiencing that, like our 13-year-old, going on 14, going to be in high school next year. And we're just like, goodness, and, but, I mean, really, I think we're our happiest when we're like all hanging out doing something. They love to camp. They love to go to museums. They love to go to state parks. They love to do a lot of outdoor stuff, and we just have so much fun together that it's the one thing I probably don't talk about as much when I do podcasts and stuff. But it really is like the best thing going on in my life is kind of where I'm at right now. With my wife and my kids, and just trying to savor every moment of it.
Yeah, it definitely goes by fast. What do they think of Dad when you're doing what you do?
Um,
Did they get it, or do they just kind of?
yeah, they get it. I mean, I think my daughter helps run the merch table, and so she slings the shirts when I play somewhere around close enough for her to do it. So she's involved, and they're it's kind of tough sometimes, Fridays and Saturday nights, where I'm like, all right, I gotta go play music, and they're like, no, stay, and
Yeah,
like, why do you gotta go play again? It's like, well, this is my job. It's what I gotta go do, and um, but also, there are times where they come and they see me on stage, and they're running around and I think at this point they think it's cool. I have kids merch shirts that they wear to school for, like Straight Out of Burbs and my I Got Game shirts and stuff. And so like they rep dad stuff. Even my middle schooler reps my shirts at school. And so far they're receptive about it. Again, like you kind of wait for the day where they're too cool for you, but it hasn't happened yet.
I
That's
understand.
awesome. Super cool. When you are writing music, Nate, do you like shut off all exterior, like all outside music?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I think usually most of the time I know what I want the song to sound like, and I'm just trying to work out the lyrics. Like I've got a progression, I've got a feel for it, and I'm just trying to make sure I say everything that I want to say. And um, I think there have been times in my life where like I hear a song, like a style of song, or like I'm like, I need a fast song like that, or like I need one of those type of songs. But obviously, it's like it's got to be it's got to be something that's mine. But I have heard styles of music where I'm like, oh, it'd be cool to write a blues song one day, like.
Yeah.
Because I love blues music. I love like what Chris Stapleton's doing with his like his style of the blues and rock and country, like where he's at, like he's got his own thing, and that's super cool. And I don't just listen to country. I listen to a lot of different things. I mean, I love blues music, and I love like classic rock music. I love I'm a big fan of like 90s country. I think most everybody is, but there are times where like I'll hear a type of song or something like that. I'm just like, I like that sound, like I
Yeah.
need to like try and like incorporate that. And sometimes like, those are the type of things that influence you to put a song together, that kind of turns out to be your own. So, but I do usually like I don't have any other music on, and I'm just like recording what I'm playing and trying like playing it back on. Well, I want it to sound more like this. It's just trying to work out what I think that song should sound like, because I do have songs that are kind of all over the place as far as like styles.
Yeah. I knew that, but after I went back and listened to some songs that I hadn't heard in a little while, and it was interesting. There was a pretty wide swath of different styles of song, and I mean I knew that, but if you don't, I don't know. We listen to a decent amount of music, and so it's kind of all the way Spotify or any of the streaming services work. You just get hit with we get hit with new stuff all the time and trying to keep up on it. So anyway, I appreciate that. Do you have you run into situations where folks in the business have said, "Hey, you're too all over the place," or "I have a hard time figuring out where to put you," or any kind of feedback like that?
Um, I don't, not necessarily to me directly. Like I know that some people say that you confuse your fans if you kind of step out and step back in, and I know that it's like hard to fit you into a genre when you have a song that's like, well, I Got Game is a little kind of like Barbie doll bluesy rock, but like Firebird's kind of almost like an Aldine or a classic rock song. And then I've got country songs, like Nothing But Time was kind of a shuffle. And so I have thought about that actually, but that's something that because I've heard people talk about how, well, you just want to have like this sound that's one same thing, and that way your audience knows like what they're getting, and they want whole albums to sound just like this mood. They want it to be one mood, and that way it helps you get on playlists, and it helps your fans kind of like know like when they put this music on, they can just let it play, and it's that feel, it's that vibe, and so I'm pretty aware that that's how a lot of it goes now. Is they want those albums and those sounds to be pretty uniform, and in the back of my mind, like you take a guy like Zach Bryan, where, you know, phenomenal songwriter and everything else, but all of his songs pretty much like kind of sound the same. The feel's the same.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking it, but I'm also like, you know, for me, it's like I love being able to step out and have like, all right, you know, I don't want my whole set to sound the same, you know, like the same kind of country songs and the same kind of, like, I want to be able to play a honky tonk song and then play like a blues song, and you know, I want that stuff to reflect in my live show, because I feel like, you know, a lot of that is you know, you do kind of take the audience with you on like a journey through the songs and stuff, and it's, unless you're a phenomenal songwriter like Zach Bryan, you know, where everybody's just listening to every word, sometimes I think the sound could just get monotonous. And so, like, you know, I don't know how to really answer that other than that, like, I'm aware of it, and but I am still kind of, I still want to make a blues song. You know, like,
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to change.
You do what you do, man.
Yeah.
There are plenty of folks out there that appreciate the variety. So, okay, so I have rapid fire questions, which are very easy.
Okay.
Can I ask one about that real quick?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
With the with your, since your songs, I mean, you're naming all these different styles of songs. Are you kind of looking at, I want to write this kind of style of song, or are you just taking whatever song it is that's coming about and just going from there? And just, are you, when you go into the studio, are you just playing for that song, or do you have an idea of what kind of song you're shooting for, or what sound you're shooting for? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, so I'll take a song like Stockpile, where it's a song I wrote during the pandemic, and it was kind of this, like, the progression was kind of this jazzy uh thing where, um gosh, there's a have you heard Pat Green's When Winter Comes to Town? When winter comes to town. Like, at first I was kind of like, look, I was kind of writing a song. I was like, it feels a bit like that, you know? And then when we got into the studio, I was like, this could kind of be like a New Orleans jazz tune. And we ended up putting a trumpet on it. Like, we hired this dude from Houston who plays trumpet amazing. I mean, it's just, I mean, I don't have that on my live show, but like, for the record, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, I kind of have this New Orleans jazz, like, trumpet song, and it fit the song and the style. I probably went beyond what I really thought I was going to go into the studio and do. But, you know, at first you just kind of write the song, and then when you go to bring it to life in the studio, you kind of look at options. And honestly, things happen in the studio that you're not expecting. You know,
Right.
options come up, things happen, and you kind of go with it, and it's like, oh, I got an opportunity to put a trumpet on this. Absolutely. Live, we play it with a fiddle, but I love it. I love that I can kind of step out into something like that. So I don't really have that plan when I'm writing it, to answer your question, but you get to the studio and things happen.
But when you get in the studio, you're playing for that song. You're not chasing a sound necessarily.
Right. Yeah. So I released a song in June for my grandpa called Slowing Down.
Mm-hmm.
So, very proud of it, because Bob Seger's piano player, Moose, played on it.
Yeah.
Was a huge Seger fan.
Mm-hmm.
But we went in there to do a full band production on it, and I was recording with Jody Bartula, and he's sitting there, and we've been doing a lot of piano stuff lately. He just starts kind of playing around on the piano, you know, with the riff that I had on the guitar, and he kind of turns it into something. And I was like, what if we just do piano? And he was like, I'm down. He's like, I know some good piano players, and I usually have Alan Huff do most of my piano stuff, who does he's Krieger's guy for a long time. He's like, but they did the Christmas thing with Cody Johnson, and Moose played on their thing. He's like, I got a guy from the Silver Bullet Band's number, and I was like, please call him, please, you know, and because that's like a dream. And so you know, it ended up just being piano and my vocal, and that was not how thought I was going to go in and do that. I didn't think I was going to go in and just have a piano song. I don't play piano. I'm not going to do that live. But it just, things happen, and it's so cool. But I love being able to go in there, and it's right for the song, and I love the variety.
All right. All right,
Good
Tabo.
question. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome, man. Rapid fire. So these are pretty easy. But Desert Island album.
That's not
I'm stuck
easy
on
at
a desert
all.
island.
Yeah.
That's
Take-
a tough question. That's not you.
well, it's
No.
easier than the pie question.
Can
Okay.
it be a greatest hits?
Sure. Yeah. Whatever. It's your island. Your album.
It's a
Ugh.
mixed CD I made back in 2005.
I know, right? It's like I know. We go flip through my CD book. Hold on a second, you know. Gosh, that's hard. All right, Desert Island album. I would take. I would take. This is rapid fire, right? I'm supposed to answer this really fast.
Just fine.
Um. I would take Toby Keith's first greatest hits album.
Okay. Heavy on the boomtown. Probably. All right. Next question. Bucket list venue.
Oh, there's so many at this point. So many. Green Hall right now.
Nice. All right. Speaking of green, what does your ideal green room look like?
God, I'm so simple. Like I'm so appreciative of even having a green room most nights. But yeah, I mean, everybody's got their own couch, like their own seat, and it's full of food. And I mean,
Yeah.
for me, there's one sugar-free Red Bull that's on ice for me, and other than that, man, I'm happy. Like I'm good to go.
Nice. All right. Good. One person that would cut one of your songs. You could pick anybody to cut one of your songs. Who would it be and why?
Gosh, I mean, current. I'll go with current. If I had to. I would say, honestly, either Kojo or Parker McCollum probably right now. Like going with some Texas guys, like that'd be super cool because they're on fire right now, and it's like if you got a cut from one of those guys, like it'd be cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And then my last question is dinner with one historical figure.
Yeah.
Greg Biggio.
Right. That would be cool. So the first person that came to mind, my wife and I are real big history nerds, super big history nerds, and my first thought was Abraham Lincoln. If I could take my wife with me, the other thought too was Jesus, but like that just seems like too easy, So I'm gonna go like I would say Abraham Lincoln, but my wife's got to be able to come. We would love to sit down and talk to him.
Yeah, it's your scenario, so you can take her. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and then now I think we're going to move to the most important question of the evening.
Well, I want to do one more. What was your first concert that you went to, either with parents or whatever? And if it was a different one, what was the first concert that you took yourself to, that you bought tickets to?
Okay, so I went to my sophomore year of high school. I moved to Florida, and I went to the it was the Chili Cook-Off Fest that they had, and the lineup was Dina Carter. We ran in. We were front row, so I was like staring at Dina Carter's bare feet the whole time. It was Dina Carter. Dixie Chicks had just released their first song. I forget what it was.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Wide Open Spaces or something.
Or there's your try. Yes, one of those. But yeah, so it was Dina Carter, Dixie Chicks, then Trace Atkins, and then it was I want to say Alan Jackson, and then it was Toby Keith. And when Toby Keith came on, like we'd been there the whole day, and something changed. Maybe it was everybody's boozed out by then, but like there was a buzz in the crowd when Toby Keith came on, and you know, people just they kind of started pressing the stage a little bit. You know, women started getting on dude's shoulders. I won't talk about the rest, but it was like there was just like it was just like what's going on here? Like you know, I mean, I think a sophomore in high school, but it really was like my first time experiencing that. It's like the country music I loved and I was listening to, but like the experience of like the buzz in the crowd when Toby came on and how people just lost their minds. I was like, what is happening right now? Like this is insane. But it was, I mean, it was cool. It was a really cool experience.
Cool deal. All right, man. So I mean, I'm assuming that's a concert you chose to go to at that age, right?
Oh yeah, I was with my friends.
Okay,
Yeah,
I got you. Okay, all
we
right.
were all just old enough to drive, you know,
That's
and working at McDonald's, you know, just saving up our money, bought our Chili Fest tickets, and we could only go to the first day because the second day we had to work, you know, but we had to go sling fries and stuff.
and
But
then you
but
saw how they reacted to Toby, and the rest was history.
it, it was
I'm sorry,
crazy.
I'm gonna write songs.
I mean,
Um,
even then, honestly, I didn't come about to playing music until like college. It never crossed my mind.
right,
But it was really like the first time I experienced why, you know, you hear stories and stuff, and like you see all the videos of women screaming at Elvis, you know, and like and crying, like, and you see stuff like that. Michael Jackson, just people fainting, and you're like, really, does this really happen, you know? And I don't think people were like crying and fainting, but like you see like how people kind of get hysterical a little bit, like just a little
right.
bit, just worked up over somebody. And yeah, Toby Keith came out and he killed it. I mean, it was just it was so much fun, and you know we were pressed up in the front row, but it was a blast.
Maybe they were getting all emotional when he was asking, "Who's your daddy?" Maybe.
Right? Yeah. I mean,
Anyways, all right. Now the
yeah.
most important question of the evening, Nate. What is your favorite Little Debbie cake?
Does Little Debbie make honey buns, or is that
Yes,
Hostess?
no, I think they have their own version of a honey bun. Yep.
Um,
We need to actually print off like a real list, but
Yeah, honestly, I couldn't. So I don't really eat like cupcakes and zinger Twinkies and all that stuff. I do eat, and my wife makes fun of me. Like one of my guilty pleasures is I'll go to the gas station, I'll get a thing of whole milk and a honey bun. I mean, and that's like that's my guilty pleasure.
hmm, hmm.
So,
Yep, fair enough. All right, Nate. We appreciate you hopping on the podcast, man. Like to remind everybody, make sure you follow Nate on all of his socials. Anywhere you stream your music, hit the follow button. When they say, "Hey, I got a new song coming out," go and pre-save this. They say all that for a reason. It helps everybody involved. So, uh, and also interact with his posts, especially the TikToks that he spends time on. time, time on.
Go watch Whiskey Wheel.
Share it to tens
Tell
and
me what you
tens of
think.
people. So
awesome.
I appreciate you guys, man. You guys were great. This was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
We appreciate you.